Hello everyone, Mekkah here, and I got Mangs here as well for some more final thoughts. Hello, hello.
Reach for my hand, I soar away.
No, Mangs, please, you're getting all the viewers, God. Stop it, please, stop it. Okay. So, today we are going to praise 3 houses, and then we might also tackle some things that we thought were not perfect, but most of the time we're going to praise 3 houses because...
You may hear some things which you may not like sometimes, but that's okay.
It's okay to hear things you don't like. I mean, you hear me, and sometimes you hear Mangs.
Actually, can I just say, like, we actually recorded this, and then we decided to re-record it.
Yep.
Because I wasn't particularly happy with some of the criticism I had. I'm a little bit more informed right now. I still have criticisms, but there were a couple of things that I complained about that wasn't explained in Edelgard that actually is. So I would just like to say that we actually did redo the recording to be more informed.
Yes, this is not complete naked new experience, everything else, but it's still our thoughts. They haven't changed too much for me because I haven't really done my research on the Edelgard part, so I'm probably relying on you and your research to fill me in on that.
Yeah.
But why don't we start by praising quality of life of 3 houses overall, because we just finished the game, both of us, kind of.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, it's a lot easier to play this game than previous time. Not just because of the difficulty, but like the way you go about the flow of the map is a lot better when you have like AI lines to see what the enemies are about to do, and you're able to see how much damage the enemy is gonna do without go to one stat screen, check their attack value, go to another stat screen, check their defense value, and then let's not even mention like random boosts everywhere that could like buff or debuff them or like terrain and stuff. It's just this enemy is going to do that much to that character, and they might, and it also shows if they double. It's like, wow, I just know everything at the glance.
Really nice. Wow. The fact that you can just view their attack speed without any modifiers is such a dream come true.
Kaga did it first.
Kaga did do it first.
Yes,
this is true.
Yeah,
this was a Tracia feature. But yeah, and the fact that enemy movement rages update when you move your units around, probably one of my favorite features, because that always bothered me. Because, you know, you're like, okay, this Wyvern Lord can attack up to here, then you move a Cavalier, and then suddenly you find out the Wyvern Lord can actually move 2 more spaces that you weren't aware of. But you can only see that after you move your Cavalier.
Yes, because the way you're using their position changes how far the enemies can reach. Sometimes the unit that's like blocking their view is like a healer that you need to get out of the way or something. And you only just like at the end of the turn, it's like, oh shit, that changes everything. And that's how a lot of my deaths in like GBA happen sometimes. So I'm glad to see that out in here for sure. But in general,
it's pretty great. And I was also I had something else to say too. I had it on my tongue, then I lost it. Something about I'll think about it later.
It's fine. It's probably quality of life, and there's always room for more
quality of life for sure. Yeah,
it's just magnificent, and it, like, you can still see staff ranges and everything. One thing I didn't really like was that in prep screen you couldn't see enemy movement ranges, I think, without like starting a map or something. That was kind of... No, you can see... I just
remembered. Apparently, someone told me, did you know you can dismount and then move?
Oh yeah, people told me that, like, in the comment section, but I saw it like 20 episodes later. I was like, okay, so I have a mounted unit. I could just move him somewhere, and then... Or rather, you're in front of a stairway with your Cavalier, and you can dismount them, and then move him over the stairway, and then the other team can mount him again. Or, if you're a Wyvern, you can, like, fly into a forest and then dismount. And then start the next turn, you don't even lose mobility because you can just mount and then move your fly movement again. So you never really lose movement. It's ridiculous. It's stupid.
It's super dismounting. Like it's like Tracia trade, but dismounting. It's crazy. I love it.
Yeah, it's... I can't even fathom how broken... The reason I didn't discover this mechanic in my Let's Play was because I assumed it was too good to be true, and I just thought, if I try to mount myself, it's probably going to end my turn or something. So I never really tried. It was kind of like the way that I found about like pair up in Awakening, where I was like, okay, I didn't get how pair up worked the first time I tried it, but it's like, there is no way it works the way I think it does, because that'd be super broken. Turns out it worked exactly the way pair up does in Awakening, and it was super broken. And this is kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, okay, so I could have just avoided like the archer weakness almost entirely then. Cool.
Yeah, okay. Pretty much you can.
I guess Wyvern Lords really did need to be better.
Oh yeah, like one thing I think we should talk about is like the balance of this game, or the complete lack or absence of balance, I guess. This game just feels like a complete sandbox.
Yeah, it's sandbox.
It's fun. It really just lets you go haywire with whatever you want. It just says, okay, here's a map, handle it any way you like. Here's a million ways to solve it. Some people may not like that if they like solving very harsh riddles or something, but I actually sort of like it, and it's going to be a lot of fun when Lunatic rolls in, I think, to see if we actually need to employ more of those tools to beat the maps.
Yeah, I like that the game gives you a lot of tools, and I think the substitutes for map design is sometimes slightly harder enemies to beat, like monster battles, I think, were meant to be the end-all way of saying, alright, you need all your tools to deal with this, and monsters do a great job of incentivizing you to use gambits and to a lesser extent combat arts, which I really like. But I feel like that's about it. For the rest, there isn't really a whole lot of map design to this game. Usually the side objectives are pretty trivial to complete if they're even there. A lot of maps don't even have them. I think it's fine. It is really like a very ideal sandbox environment. You can literally just make any army you please. I feel like the units, they're characterized more by the classes you make them than their innate traits. Like they have personal skills and everything. But honestly, I feel like if you take like two totally different units, like I don't know, take like Lysithea and Hilda, or in your case take like Hubert and Edelgard or something. If you make both of them wyverns, they'll play very alike, despite the fact that they have a lot of innate differences. Whereas if you make them two different classes, or if you take like two similar units, take like Edelgard, Hilda or something. If you make them both a different class, they're gonna play much different. So the way a character performs is based much more on their class than on their individual traits and like base stats and everything. Which I can't think of a single Fire Emblem where that's this much the case, where a unit and their class and the way you build them has so much impact on how they perform. Usually I feel like it's more about the unit's base stats and their skills and everything that determines how they're played. Which is, I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's very different from what it usually is, and it took a little bit to get used to.
Yeah, I just realized after beating the game, someone was like, oh Mangs, are you gonna do like a Black Eagles tier lists? And I just realized I have no clue how to even rate these
I have the same problem. I want to make a tier list video, but I'm like, yeah.
I mean, I know Edelgard. I know Edelgard's a step above the rests for sure. Yeah. Thanks to her broken. I imagine if I made her a Wyvern Lord with that goddamn combat art that lets her move again after attacking, she would just break the game. I know that Hubert hits hard, but he's kind of slow. But like, it's hard for me to even like rate these characters because they could be so different for another player on a different playthrough.
Yeah, even that. Like the way I think, if you want to like tier list comparison, go mad, a debate mode, Punich Incarnates, engagement, everything. In this game, you'd have to like figure out the most optimal way to play every unit, which for most of them will be Wyvern Lord, I think. And then just compare them with that. And then if they can't pull a Wyvern Lord, or they're better off somewhere else, you have to rate them accordingly. But for the most part, I don't know. It almost feels like you can't really make a good tier list for this game.
No, I mean, there's certainly. I'm playing Blue Lions right now, and I'm certainly noticing that, for example, Felix is like a step above everyone else.
Oh, for sure.
There's some characters
that make such a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a couple of characters who are just like better by default. Like I think Lysithea is a good example of a character that just stands out because she just is an orbital nuke, and Felix stands out because he just is an orbital nuke. you know, but it's with a sword. Yeah. So it's there are some characters who stand out, but the rest I feel like kind of blend into each other a little bit.
Yes, I think the Lords stand out. I think Felix stands out. I think Hilda stands out for me.
Yeah. And I haven't even used her, but I can already already see why.
She's pretty busted. All right. But yeah, for the most part, it is hard to find individuality between characters. I'm reminded of like the Shadow Dragon, for example, or older games. You can reclass pretty freely as well. But for like a more individuality of their character is remained when they reclass. For example, Wendell in Shadow Dragon, you can reclass him to Wyvern whenever you want. The problem is he sucks at being a Wyvern because his strength is low, and he can't use high level axes or lances. He doesn't get any bonuses using them, so he's better off as a sage most of the time. But he still has a niche in that he has a lot of speed, so even as a Wyvern he can still double. And the fact that he can reclass the Wyvern right away because he's pre-mode is also something niche that very few other characters can. So he has a couple more traits about him that stay intact. In this game, that's the case too. For a couple of characters, for example, I had like 5,000 different Wyverns on my Golden Deer route. But for example, Hilda had a lot more strength than other characters. Claude was much more proficient at using bows. They could use different relics. So there were differences, but they felt a bit more minor to me. And I think that can get old if you play the game too much. For now, I'm not going to say it's a negative thing. It's just something I noticed.
Yeah. I absolutely agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree. I would need to play all routes before I can really make up my mind, but yeah.
I thought that was a pitfall that you had to play all routes before you can make up your mind.
Well, I can have an opinion, but it's not going to be a good opinion.
If I have an opinion, that's a fact. I will say one last thing about like the map design and the sandboxy thing is like the maps felt safe. They weren't very degenerate. They didn't really throw a whole lot of things at us. There were no ambush spawns or anything, which was like a big thing in Awakening and a couple of other games which are really annoying.
Just wait until Lunatic Mekkah. okay.
Yeah,
They'll be there.
That is the thing I'm worrying about with Lunatic, is that hopefully they will do things other than just make enemies stronger ambush spawns, because that seems like the way they're going about it right now. So I'm hoping there's a bit more to it. I will say though, what I like about the idea of Lunatic is right now I feel like the game gives you like a million tools to solve every problem imaginable, but there's no real problems. It's just, here's a sandbox, have fun playing. So every one of your toys basically does the same thing, only they go about it in a different way, which is fun to play with. But for me, it's more rewarding when there's a problem that I couldn't solve before, and suddenly I realize, oh, if I just reclass this unit this way, or I give him this kind of weapon, or I do that, then I actually get to, I get a more rewarding experience for what I managed to figure out.
Absolutely. I'm playing Blue Lions on New Game Plus right now, and it is just ridiculous how much you can trivialize the game. Like New Game Plus is an entirely different kind of worm. So, but I'm playing with Gas now, and he says like this mode is meant to break the game for fun, and that's how you gotta approach it. This is like just a playground that you can just play around with and just enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but I would kind of like the playground to be a bit more harsh.
Like I'd like it if you could fall like off the slides and stuff.
Yeah.
I will say
like
about
a very safe playground.
I will say about New Game Plus. I like that it's there a lot. At first I was like, wow, this trivializes the game. This is boring. But then I realized that if I play on New Game Plus, I could just set my own limitations, and I can set them roughly to where non-New Game Plus, so like just New Game would put me. But I can still occasionally skip things that I would have to do in New Game. For example, fishing and maybe like to a lesser extent gardening and stuff, or grinding, that kind of stuff. I could just skip that and instead do things that I find more fun. And I think that's the ideal way to use New Game Plus. But it also works if you just want to turn your game into a shipping simulator or a pairing simulator, or just want to get supports quicker, or just want to make like specific left builds, because you get so much extra activity points to like give your left.
It was just so funny because we were doing the mock battles. Like, hey, we brought some barrels of TNT and some Discurb mercenaries to the mock battle. Like, hello.
Right now I was in a battle, and I was trying to switch some battalions up, but I couldn't get to the battalion guild because I hadn't unlocked it yet. But all my characters have battalions because they got plus.
Yeah, and the funny part is like you can't even replenish them until you unlock the actual battalions guild. So you gotta actually, if your battalions retreat, you can't get them back until. You
just gonna have to go to the monastery and to switch them around, I think, or something. There's some things you cannot do, which feels a little bit arbitrary. So that could have been looked at, but that's like a very minor criticism of just something that's for,
That is not something that bothers me at all. And New Game Plus is like a different discussion in and of itself, I feel.
Yeah, I think New Game Plus is like, it's for speedruns, it's a different category. For, tier lists, it'll be a different category for sure. Like, there's so many things that you can do in New Game Plus that you couldn't feasibly do in New Game, that it feels like playing an entire
give everyone every single crest.
That one's like, that feature is weird as hell. I kind of like it, but I try not to use it.
I just thought, Edelgard is like angry that people experimented with crests, and then like you enter New Game Plus, it's like, hey Edelgard, let me just infuse you with 5 crests.
And then you still have like 10 leftovers and give another 5 to the city. I'm sure she'll like
feeling really good about that.
You know what they should have done in New Game Plus, or in this game period, is give you more deployment slots. I think that could have been really good. Because you get like, okay, let's do the math here. I'm sorry, Mangs. You got Beleth, you got a Lord, and I think you got 7 or 8 students roughly. And that fills up your entire roster for like a lot of paralogs, because you get like a couple 4 students like Hanama Manuela, for example. You only got like 9 units for that. And then if you add in like students from other houses, or teachers, or Knights of Zeros like Shamir and Catherine and stuff like that, you're gonna be hard pressed to like deploy every single one of your units. And that kind of disappointed me, because I almost all the time I had to leave someone off of the field that I had like put a lot of investment in. And I feel like the game really encourages you to use everyone in most battles. It encourages you to check out all the students, see which ones you like, which ones you don't. And for me, I feel like I have to bench a lot of people that I put a lot of work in. I can still deploy them as adjutants, but that's just not the same. They still get the like experience, so it helps that they don't fall behind. They get like weapon experience, class experience, level experience, whatever you want to call it. But it's just not the same with them not being on the field. You see them there as like adjutants, but they're not really there. You can't do anything with them. It feels like a waste of their potential.
Yeah, I forget that they're there for sure. It certainly doesn't even feel like pair up from Awakening. Even.
No, it's like a very, very nerfed pair up, which is good, because pair up was like broken as fuck. But it's like like a compensation unit.
I find
slot.
that it's best for leveling. I feel because they get experience almost at the rate of the unit they're paired up with. So it's like just free experience.
It feels like it's pretty much the same, yeah. Because sometimes you have like a couple units where they do like all the work in the chapter because they're so good. Like in your case, it was Edelgard. For me, it was Wyverns. And then the units that are like foot units or like 4-move armor units or whatever, or mage units, they just stand there in the back, and occasionally you'll be able to like fight a couple of enemies, but they'll never get as much action as the Adjutants that's paired up with one of your main units. They'll get like way more action and experience. It's actually one of the best ways to raise an underleveled scrub like Surreal.
Yeah, it almost seems like they get like a set amount of experience, like regardless of their level. I might be wrong on this, but I feel like they.
Yeah, I had Edelgard paired with my avatar in my solo run, and she gained levels roughly at the amount of. I think she just gets the same amount as she would if she killed like an enemy by herself. That's what I think.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah.
But there was one more thing I wanted to say about deployment slots, but I think we said everything.
So
but
apparently it's pronounced adjutant.
Adjutant. Oh, I see. I just say lieutenant like half the time because I don't know. Okay, so last gameplay segment a bit, I guess, is like the class skills. We kind of touched on the whole sandbox thing and everything. I do like how they did manage to make like a good experience for the whole thing. They like tied in the monastery and the tutoring and the class system together pretty well, I think, to the point where you can generally see that there's like a design behind it. You can generally see that there's a certain curve you have to go through, but once you realize how it works, it's pretty satisfying to like get people to new levels and teach them in certain things. It actually has an effect. It doesn't feel like the tutoring is useless. In fact, I would say the tutoring is more important for the weapon levels than just battling is. I feel like you get more experience tutoring most of the time.
Yeah, especially if you get Professor level A+, you can tutor a lot.
Yeah, you can tutor a lot more. It also fatigues them a lot more, so it's not as broken as I thought it would be at first. But yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing we agree on. I think what you're about to say is something about masterclasses. Was that right?
Well, I'll get to that. I will say I think you mentioned this during our Let's Play, but it's there's so many bars going on whenever you fight.
It's almost too many bars.
There's so many bars.
Progress bars, yes.
There's experience bars, there's the weapon rank bar, there's the class bar, there's the battalion bars, that's up to 4, and I might be missing some, I don't remember.
Probably. I mean, every weapon has a bar, so...
And yeah, exactly, so it's like, oh my god, there's like 7 or 8 bars going up here, so many bars!
More bars than your average rapper.
Yeah, it's crazy, you know?
And I thought that might be hard to keep track of. Fortunately, you don't really have to keep track of them very well. There's like a couple of them you're usually focused on, but like the battalion bar, you can just kind of ignore that. But sometimes when I have like every student recruited and they're all like gaining experience that I don't care about in the tutoring session, I just wish it could hurry up a little bit. But other than that, it wasn't as overwhelming as I thought. But it can feel a bit grindy at times. I think the most grindy bit of those bars is the class mastery bar. Some class masteries, you just want to get them, otherwise you can just ignore them. I know for our playthroughs, we mostly just had characters just promote whenever we could and ignored those kind of. And I think if anyone tells you that like you need to stay in a certain class for a amount of time, you need to get the mastery, I think they're just plain wrong. You can beat this game with like any combination of anything, so I don't think you need to feel obligated to fulfill your class bar. But when you end an auxiliary battle with like 4 or 2 class experience left, you really feel bad about no matter what you do. Either you feel bad for promoting them because you missed out on your class skill, or you feel bad for not promoting them because they could have spent a whole chapter being promoted and gaining XP in a new class skill. So that kind of, it feels bad. I'm not saying it's bad design, I'm just saying that feels bad, and it feels a bit grindy. You almost want to just stand there with like no weapon equipped and take a couple more turns in an auxiliary battle just to get your class skill, and that feels a little bit, a little bit weird.
Fire Emblem really is infamous for inspiring fear in people for not playing properly. You know, I think someone, there's a word used to describe this, but it's like Fire Emblem players are terrified of making the wrong decision, which is very obvious when you the
whole business model
comment section. Whenever I do a mistake, people treat it like literally the world is about to end, right? And I think this hysteria is like, it's sort of inbred into our spines because there's just something about Fire Emblem that really encourages you to play optimally. You're
looking for, is it fear of missing out, like FOMO?
Fear of missing out, yes. I think Chas made a video about this, like the fear of missing out. It's very strong, in particular in Fire Emblem, because it's such a min-maxing game. This game takes that tenfold, I feel.
Absolutely.
But ironically, it's the game where it matters the least.
Yes.
So it's like, on one side, this game is going like, oh my god, there's so many ways to customize your students. There's so many things you can do. There's so many ways you can make everything better. And you go like, oh my god, I want to do them all. And it's like, but it doesn't matter because the game's sort of easy. I mean, might change on Lunatic, but on hard mode, don't worry about playing optimally, guys. Seriously, I bet you could beat this game having everyone as nobles and commoners. Like,
yeah, I think this is not really about people not wanting to play optimally or being afraid they can't beat the game, but rather the grind from 0 to hero is a goal in and of itself for a lot of people. The reward is people like perfectionizing build units, which is something that Fire Emblem has been more and more about since like the GBA games, or like later than that, earlier than that, whatever. Anyway, it's slowly come to this point where like Fates and Awakening kind of had this already, where you can like go through different classes to get different skills. And this game like gears it, ramps it up to 11 or whatever the expression is. It's fun for like a certain kind of crowd. And personally, I've never been part of this crowd. I can see the fun of it. I have fun building units this way sometimes, but I usually find the games where I can I see a map and I have like a set of units, and I try to think, how can I beat this map with the units I have currently? And right now, that challenge isn't really there because there hasn't really been any kind of design in the maps for that. So instead, most of the fun is like making funny builds and just doing whatever I want, because you can do crazy things like every turn in this game if you want to. And every unit can pretty much pull off any class you want. Like I saw Chaz doing like Wyvern the Scythia on the stream, so I'm like, okay, if this works, then pretty much everything works. And
I am doing some funny unit combinations in my new game plus. Let me just tell you, we are having fun with the tutoring.
Did you go for like a purposely meme build for every character, or just like mixing and matching?
Pretty much. I let Gas decide on some, but yeah, no, I'm going like sniper Mercedes Luis build. So.
That is funny.
Yeah, I wanted to go brawler, but then it's like, no, you're a girl first place. Poland sexist.
That makes sense. Okay, so can we bash Edelgard right now?
Yeah.
Okay, so how about I catch us up on what I think our perception was of the thing, and then you can what's the word? You can fix me. You can correct me on. Sorry, I had a Petra moment there. You can correct me on my misconceptions here. So
I will be having corrections with the professor.
Please have corrections. So from what I can tell, we both felt the Edelgard route was very rushed. I don't think our minds have been changed on that per se, but I think there's some things about it that have been cleared up since, which. It's like a risk of like playing a Let's Play blind for the first time behind everyone else, and then also just bantering over things sometimes when you see something funny, and it's the risk of a first reaction. You miss stuff, and that happens sometimes, and it sucks. But yeah, I mean, my bad. Maybe I missed something, but I think
so apparently, basically, my two biggest issues with the Edelgard route was I wanted to see more history between Edelgard and Dimitri because it was very hinted at, and I wanted to know more about like this Arundel guy who showed up. Like, what's his deal? And apparently, Hubert has this segment where he explains that Arundel is the leader of those Slytherin.
I remember seeing that.
He is the Nurgle guy.
Yeah, I actually didn't miss that over banter. I just saw it and kind of forgot about it, and I think part
people
of it
said we talked over it. But I don't think we did. I think we just forgot.
Yeah, I just forgot because the game didn't call a whole lot of attention to it afterwards. And I mean, sure, it's on me for not remembering an important detail, but it didn't feel like it had any impact on the screen and the actions that we saw, which is the reason
it was just Hubert talking. And let's be real, one of our biggest complaints about the Edelgard route is that it tells, not shows.
Yeah, it talks.
And there's a lot of telling. There's a lot of talking.
There's no cutscenes. That's the thing we missed the most. It's like almost no cutscenes.
Which brings me over to my second point. So, you remember how we complained that, like, Dimitri and Edelgard should have had, like, a bigger moment?
Yeah, because you killed the dude in a weird way,
freaking
right?
CG art of Edelgard standing over Dimitri, and they have a long conversation that really hints at their backstory.
No.
But you don't get this if you kill Dudu before he transforms.
It's weird.
If you kill the dude before he transforms, you get the Dudu Dimitri scene instead, where they, the heartbreaking one, where they talk at the end of the battle.
Oh, I see.
So that's a bit of an Easter egg, and I do like that they put Easter eggs like that in the game, but I don't see why it would come at the cost of the other. I like hidden gems like this. I really do. I think it adds replayability. It encourages people to explore. But for me personally, that I went and because you can actually go and watch the scene in the event gallery after, and it was amazing. It was amazing. Edelgard standing over Dimitri with her axe, Dimitri talking to her, and then she executes him, and it's just like, this was such a cool scene. Why couldn't we have seen this scene? No, because we killed Dudu, and then we get the Dudu scene instead. And it's like,
it's a weird
I like
requirement
it
too.
I like it, but at the same time, I don't like it.
It's like a microcosm of the whole Edelgard route as well, I feel like, because I actually really like that the route exists. I like that they put like a secretive route in, but it shouldn't have come at the cost of the length of the route and like the fact that the church route is kind of like a watered down golden deer route from what I know, or like vice versa. They have like some things not in common, but most of the narrative is the same. So I like the fact that the Crimson Rose was an option. I like the fact that we got to play basically as the bad guy route for a bit. But I don't think it should have replaced some things that I think are fundamental for storytelling and like the story of Three Houses as a whole.
Yeah. No, people definitely say that it's not a route that's meant to be played first, but the problem is I can imagine a lot of people playing it first because all you need to really do is get ST support with Edelgard, which we still haven't confirmed, I think. That's the requirement.
I mean, you keep saying it, but as far as I know, you just talk to Edelgard at the right time, the right moment.
Yeah, and I imagine a lot of people... Black Eagle seems like a natural house for a lot of people to pick, and that if you go by the online statistics, that seems like to be the house most people picked. And I imagine most people would side with Edelgard over Rhea because they have more of a connection with Edelgard.
Of course.
So it is a route that I think most people will play on their first go, which is a shame because it really feels like a paralog route, honestly. Like, it feels like a route that adds on top of already existing story.
Yeah.
And if you play it on your first go, you're just gonna sit there going, huh? That's my reaction. If I didn't have you there to explain certain things to me, I think I would have had an even more confused look in my face after playing it.
Did I explain like certain Golden Year events to you?
You mentioned like occasionally, like you said, like with like this was, and with the whole Byleth thing with his heart and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that wasn't brought up at all. It was kind of weird. Yeah, I mean, I think part of it is intentional. Not saying all of it is, but I think part of it is intentional because Edelgard is meant to be a misguided character that supposedly goes to war for some good reasons. I like the motivations behind the character. I like that she actually has a tragic backstory that kind of worked for me. She was more of a morally great person than a lot of other Fire Emblem villains were, because I still feel she was the villain even if in her own route. And I like knowing her motivations behind her actions. I like knowing why the crests were to blame, so to speak.
They really are to blame.
Yeah,
like,
I think
holy shit.
I think it came from a right place. She was doing it for the greater good, and I thought that was okay. But unfortunately, because a lot of things have to be missed by her and Byleth as a consequence, because if Byleth knew reasons that would stop Edelgard from going to war, then there would be no story, because Byleth would like convince Edelgard not to. But you know, I think instead what they could have done is something similar to Dimitri route, which I think what Dimitri route is, which is the more like a redemption route arc where Byleth manages to get a peaceful solution with Edelgard or something, or like convinces her to like slow down a little bit. But that would be, it would be hard to write, but I think they could have done it. I don't know. I just don't think there was. I don't feel like their full force was behind this one. I feel like they cut some corners because they either got to it too late or they just never had any really good ideas for it. Because it feels very rushed still, even knowing these details. Because they could have easily had a couple more chapters, for example, with those who slither in the dark. Because those were, I feel like, the main forces behind. They were actually the cause of Edelgard's problems. They're the ones that experimented on her, as far as I know. But they're dealt with off screen. Like we get a line about, and correct me if I'm wrong, comment section, because I might still not know all the details. But this is my perception right now. So Hubert says, "Those who slither in the dark, led by Lord Arundel, have been necessary for the things we want to do. We needed their power or something. We need them on our side for a little bit." And then at the ending, I think it's basically resolved in yet another line of Edelgard, Hubert, and Byleth talking, where they're like, okay, they're dealt with now or something. Or maybe they don't even say that. I don't remember. I'm sorry. But the point here is, like, the main antagonists of the game, I feel like, were dealt with off screen. And they could have easily just taken another chapter out of Golden Deer, or I'm sure Blue Lions, and just had Edelgard take care of them instead and sever their ties. I think that wouldn't have been too hard, because there's an entire chapter in Golden Deer dedicated to that. And this game has no issues reusing maps, so I don't know why they wouldn't just put another chapter of that in there.
It's weird, and it definitely feels to me like they did the 3 routes initially, the church, and then people were like, but what about those who like Edelgard? It's like, yeah, that's not good.
Yeah.
Alright, let's just make a route. Okay, how much money do we got left?
I think they started with routes for each of the 3 lords for sure, because that seems to be, it's such a core concept of the game. But then somehow it ended up being church route instead of Edelgard route, and then this Edelgard route just kind of tacked on there. It's kind of weird. I think one of my, I think it was Helio-san actually who told me that, like, maybe the idea was that you go to the church route, or like you pick Edelgard, and then you accidentally end up on the church route, and you get a huge shock as you lose Edelgard, even though you picked her. I think that might have been the effect they were going for, but then then it's almost like it's you're so encouraged to talk to everyone in the monastery every month that it seems a little bit too hard to just get Edelgard's route by accident. Like, if they wanted this to be like a super secret hidden gem in this game that you weren't meant to play initially, they'd have to hide it better, I think.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely not an Easter egg. I think it's hard not to notice it, honestly, because, I mean, like, the game makes it very clear, like, with the heartbeat and everything. You know, when you get asked to you know, follow Edelgard, it goes like doo doo.
Yeah. Doo doo. If you're willing to throw in like a fourth wall breaking warning like that, or like a game instruction like that, you could just be like, this is not good for your first playthrough. They could have just put that instead, I think. And that might that might help a little bit.
That's what they say in Fates when you try to pick Conquest on your first route. They go, this is not a recommended route for beginners. You should play Birthright first.
Oh, right. Well, in that case, it's more like because Conquest is harder, right? It's not really about the story as much as is it about the gameplay for Fire Emblem beginners.
for sure. But still, they could have done that.
Yeah, they could have. So there's a couple of things they could have made it a little better as. Because I think if you put it as like a more of a supplement instead of treating it as its own route, it's okay. Like, if you already...
Yeah.
Like, I think ideally, if you were to go for an order...
Just why? Maybe they could have hidden it behind a New Game Plus?
Oh, that could have been a good idea, yeah. So I think what they could have done is... could have done... I think what... You might not agree with me, or you might think differently, but I think what they could have done... No, I should word this differently. What I should say is, if you, like, were to recommend people now to, like, play routes in a certain order... I think what's ideal is, like, you play Golden Deer first or Church Route first, because those two are similar, so you want to play one of them first and one of them last, I think. Yeah. And then in between, you play Blue Lions first, I think, because it's the route that explains the most about a character that's, like, missing for most of these routes. And it's like very different from the other two. And then the third, you play Edelgard's secret route, because it's like a cool extra background thing, but it's not something you want in your first playthrough. So I think you go, like, Golden Deer or Church, and then you go Blue Lions, and then you go Edelgard, Secret Routes, and then last you play the other one of the two you didn't play. I think that's like ideal for most beginners.
Because Black Eagles just seems to be the starter house.
Yeah. So I don't have.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just I don't know why it is the starter house, but I think it's just I felt like Edelgard
I have an entire
was more
video dedicated to this topic actually. Why Edelgard's
okay.
So
because
promoted.
I don't know, Edelgard just seems like a character that they presented really bad.
Absolutely.
Like, she was the figurehead of Three Houses.
Pretty
like,
much,
from the trailers.
Yes.
Like Claude and Dimitri don't speak in the trailer. She does.
No, exactly. That's the thing what irks me the most. Is she was the most marketed character by far. She was pushed in front everywhere, and then her route is the most rushed one in the game. That was kind of weird. It's kind of odd.
It is weird, yeah.
And that's
sounds like Edelgard deserved better.
Yeah, it seems like. But do you think the order of the route makes sense for, like, if you were to recommend something? Yeah, okay, good. So
I mean, like, I need to play Golden Deer and Blue Lions first before I can agree for sure. But yeah, based on because I don't know what happens in them, but yeah. I definitely think the way I did it, I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, I will say, other than this whole church route thing or this Edelgard route thing being a bit of a rushed thing, I think overall the story was, like, satisfying enough. I'm not left with any big gaping holes that I don't think will be solved by anything. But this is something I will have to play every route for before I can answer for sure. But I don't have that lingering feeling of this game is trying to mislead me that FA7 gives me sometimes. I'm like, okay.
Well, there is one thing I want to bring up. I mean, you can put a little bit of a spoiler warning just here. I mean, I don't think it's a spoiler.
This is now a spoiler warning, guys.
Yeah, people, because it's this. I want to talk about Sothis. So,
for what part are we talking about? Is this something I shouldn't know? Is this like part 2 or like?
No, I'm like, it's Gast said something that just made me go, oh.
But is it spoilers for me?
I wouldn't know, because you played different... I'm just gonna say it, you can hate me. So, Gas said, when we started up our Blue Lions playthrough, he said, wow, man, I'm playing the Crimson Rose route now, the one you'd played, and I really hope this game tells me more about Sothis. And I was like, oh. That's okay. I was like, okay, alright, well... I guess my hopes of learning anything about Sothis and the Blue Lions route went out the window there.
I think for to know most about Sothis, you have to play Golden Deer and then maybe Church Route to find out the full thing. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
I feel like I found out plenty about Sothis myself, personally.
Okay, cool. Alright, good, because I don't know anything about it.
Yeah,
I was like, yay, Blue Lions, time to learn about Sothis. The guys were like, I don't know anything about Sothis.
Yeah, we should definitely make another one of these when we've played all the routes and we can finally get our real final thoughts. For now, this is just our final thoughts for our first playthroughs. And I mean, I still have some questions, but I'm gonna give the game the benefit of the doubt.
You can't even talk about Golden Deer in this video because you'll spoil me. So it's really just our thoughts about the game and my thoughts about one route.
Yeah, pretty much. I can give like general thoughts on Golden Deer. I thought it was very satisfying, but I don't want to spoil Mangs on any details of it. But there were some things that were like unresolved in it that I hope get answered. But I know some of them are in other routes, so I'm not too concerned. I'm okay. I'm okay with the story so far. If I'm left with a lot of questions after playing 4 routes, I'm gonna have some issues, but I really don't think it'll be the case. I think it'll be fine.
Yeah,
I have high hopes, but I think that's just
it's a good game.
It was a good game. It was a lot better than it could have been. There were a lot of days where me and Mangs were just sitting there and we were like, please don't be Fates, please don't be Fates, please don't be Fates, please don't be Fates.
Please don't be Fates. It's not Fates.
Please don't make me play Fates for my channel, please.
I'm not gonna bring us on to another because I know we're sort of at the end here, but I just want to say there's so many people right now who are saying that 3 months from now, people are gonna hate this game as much as it Fates. They're just in a honeymoon phase. Once people realize that this game sucks, they're all gonna start bashing it. I will agree that 3 months from now, some of the hype might have died down and there might be some more criticisms of this game than we initially thought. But I personally hated Fates from the start. So
wow, you're so cool, Mangs.
I thought Fates was shit from Chapter 7 and onwards, and the writing was shit from the start. And I do not have this. Having completed this game, it is not Fates. It will not be placed in the same category as Fates.
No. There are things that I wish were different, but that's okay. Every final game has that.
No. Yeah, this game is just objectively better than Fates. They put more effort into the world.
Yeah, there's heart in it. Like I said, there's heart in this game.
Yeah, it has heart, it has soul.
Fates feels more insulting to its player base. For like, you might like Fates, but I'm just saying, some things about Fates left a sour taste in my mouth. But hey, this is not the video for Fates bashing.
No,
this is the video for thoughts, and these are our thoughts. Now, if you disagree with our thoughts, Mangs has a comment section that you can deposit those things. If you agree with the thoughts, leave them down below. Yeah. And we'll see you guys next time for the next thoughts. Goodbye.
Be gone. Thoughts!